Well, hello everybody, welcome back to my sister's house here in Staffordshire. So I've just done a trip to London and I thought that on the way home, instead of going straight up to Edinburgh, I would do a pit stop here and spend a few days with my family here in Staffordshire. Now the last time I was here, I was sharing that they'd just started work on the garden. That was about 6 weeks ago, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at the progress that has happened since I was last here. I've come here today and I'm completely shocked at how much has been done. You can just see a glimpse here of the rose beds that have been planted since I was last here, and so much has changed in the garden already. So I thought that for this week's episode we would focus on the garden and I'd give you a little bit of a walking tour of all the things that have been added here and some of the changes that have taken place. So the gardener who works here is called Greg. He's a local guy, but he's worked on gardens all over England. In fact, he's even worked at Sandringham, which is of course one of the most famous residences of the royal family, where the Queen in particular used to like to stay for Christmas time. So he's worked on the garden at Sandringham and I've really enjoyed catching up with him. He is super interesting, very knowledgeable, and we seem to have similar taste. So he is the one who has kind of put his design stamp on this garden, and he is going to be the one who's leading the way that the garden's going to look, and I'm very happy about that because he's got really incredible taste, knows what he's doing, and I think this garden needs someone like that who is knowledgeable about gardens and plants and exactly what the garden needs in these types of conditions and the way that it faces. So it's going to take years and years for the garden to fully settle in, but I'm sure you will agree when I show you around, it's already looking quite beautiful, and as it does grow and settle into its new surrounding, it's going to be pretty spectacular. So let me show you around the garden now. So I'm going to start the garden tour at the back of the house because this is an angle that I don't usually show, and that is because it is perhaps not the most attractive. We have this plain white wall and then these, something to do with the heating I think, or the electricity, but the gardener has a plan to cover these up with I think some hedging where the wall is there and fix the problem. So I thought that we'd start there to get it out of the way, and we're going to walk around to the side of the house now, and a new border has been planted here. And you can see that it's looking quite beautiful and filled with vibrant colour and different heights thanks to these beautiful foxgloves. So foxgloves just happen to be one of my favourite plants, and I have to say that at the side here of the house against this wooden fence they look pretty marvellous, standing to attention with all of their little bells of floral flowers. And then in between we have lots of different lavender. I'm not sure what all of them are, but basically it has been arranged so that there is varying interest throughout the season and throughout the year, and so there's always something growing and something to see, which is what you need to have in a garden. So this is the side of the house, and this has really improved this whole area. Now what I will say about the house is that because it wasn't lived in for about 25 years and it was basically just a plain building site starting from scratch, everything was looking a little bit hard because it was just no landscaping, and it was just brick from the house and there was no real softness. So it takes a long time to achieve that effect. Gardens take years and years to grow in, to settle in, and for everything to come together and to add a real softness. But I will say that already the softness is coming through and everything is starting to look a little bit more like a Georgian country house that's been here for a little while, but that is going to take some time. So now we're coming round to the front of the house, and apologies, it's in the shade now because it is almost 7 o'clock in the evening. So the sun is over the other side, and I did want to film this earlier on, but it was raining, so perhaps not the best. But I'm not sure whether you can remember this part of the garden. Before it was just plain grass and completely empty, and in just a few weeks it has been transformed into this rose garden. So you can see in the middle here we have a gravel border and then a patio, and you can see that stone there which has been left open. There is going to be a little water feature there, so that is coming in the next few days, I believe. So this will have a beautiful trickling water sound, and it's going to be surrounded by this border of roses. So you can see here we have some green, evergreen kind of box. The gardener did tell me today what this is called, but I've forgotten already. It's so hard to remember the name of plants if you're not really familiar with them. But that is going to be trained, and then eventually it will be clipped into a box hedging so that it's very formal and beautiful, and then in between we have the roses there. These roses are just absolutely beautiful. You can see them. They have this pale yellow colour with a slight pinkiness in the centre, and the fragrance is just beautiful. Here you can see this one. Beautiful English roses. And then over there at the window you can see again we have more of that box hedging, and that will be shaped too. So, and then today the gardener brought in this I believe is French lavender. So that will be planted there tomorrow, and eventually that will just carpet the ground, and in between we have these green topiaries as well, these green box. So yes, this area of the house, which is now once plain, now has a little bit more structure. Also, there's a big plan to plant, I think, maybe a wisteria on this wall to soften the house, and they're going to soften that with a lot of other things. I can hear Sophie barking, so I'm not sure what she's doing. Oh, here's Sophie. So she absolutely loves being here in the garden. She flits between my parents' and my sister's house, and it's very peaceful for her, so she loves it. We've also put in these trees, planted lots of trees here, which is great, and there's a mixture of red, yellow and green. And then beyond here we have the field with my favourite tree, my friend who I always see when I visit here, and who changes depending on the time of year. And then in the fields here it's starting to grow quite wild, and then over there we have some wild flowers, which is pretty cool. So let's go over here. We have a few more trees. You can see the roses again. And then this lawn has been shaped, so I'm not sure whether you remember. I will try to find some videos or pictures maybe that I took before, but this was all plain as well. This has been shaped now with the borders, and also in the distance you can see a path has been added. And again on this side we have the lavender. This is going to be planted out tomorrow. But it's all looking beautiful and soft. Here we have rosemary. So this will grow kind of like a carpet on this little part of the garden, and the fragrance is beautiful. Definitely great if you want to have a mojito, or maybe cook some lamb. But honestly, the difference here is just incredible. If you can remember what it was like before, so plain, and now already after a few weeks of work it's looking just magnificent. It's so exciting. And what I love about gardens is that they form over time, and it can take years and years to reach the desired effect that you're looking for. Maybe you never reach what you're looking for, but that is the beauty of a garden, is that it's always evolving and changing. So over here we've got a little children's play area for my niece. And then, perhaps my favourite thing, the newest addition, and my favourite thing, are these pleached apple trees that have been put here. And you can see they've been trained to grow in espalier style, and they're so beautiful. The sun's making it so you can't really see, but yes, how beautiful is that against the kitchen garden wall. And there is another one on the opposite side. You can't beat a beautiful English day. I mean, this is 7 p.m. It's so warm and beautiful, slight wind, slight breeze. And then as we go through to the walled garden, this is still very untouched. This is going to be the final part of the project. And remember last time, perhaps you remember that I said there would be a swimming pool in here. I think they've changed their minds and they're going to revert this back to what it's supposed to be, which is a walled garden. And apparently they're having a beautiful antique greenhouse along that wall, I believe. Or that one, I can't remember which one. And then they're going to start plotting out the plots for all of the vegetables and things. So it'll be so beautiful here. It's going to be like a dream come true for me, as I love kitchen gardens and gardens. What do you think, Sophie? So yeah, I thought I would show you the garden. It's completely changed since the last time. They've managed to do a lot. And I just think it's the most wonderful thing to be able to be in the countryside and start making a garden here in your home and just softening up the whole landscape. And then you've got the beauty of those fields, the big open skies. It's pretty beautiful here. So, as promised, the last time that I went to David Austin Roses, the roses were not yet out, and although it is a beautiful place, it wasn't really showing its full potential. So I'm going to show you around David Austin Roses right now. All of the roses are in bloom and it looks absolutely spectacular. Even though it's not the most sunny day, you can still get to see how beautiful the roses are. So let's go and have a look now. David Austin roses are probably the most famous roses in the world, but what makes them so special? In the 1940s, as a teenager, Mr. David Austin was fascinated with roses, but when his sister gave him A. E. Bunyard's old garden rose for his 21st birthday, he took action. His love was for the old roses, whose colours were primarily whites, blush pink and soft red. But the modern hybrid tea roses were growing in popularity. They offered a wider colour range and repeat flower. David Austin had the brilliant idea to cross the two, to create a completely new rose, one that had the beauty and fragrances of the old roses with the benefits of modern roses. And now, decades later, the David Austin rose is recognised globally for its beauty and charm, and this is where they were created. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and you found it fun and interesting. I look forward to seeing you next time, but until then, take care. Bye bye.